Hey guys, hey, it's Jaleisha and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am back, no makeup, so this means a tutorial, a brow tutorial. Yay! I'm so excited. I did film a brow tutorial and posted it on my channel like a few years ago, but I've changed the way I do my brows and some of the products as well, so it's an updated brow tutorial. My brows don't have anything on them. They're grown out, super hairy, so I'm gonna show you guys how I do it and it should be fun. Okay, so now you're like up in my face. But yeah, as you guys can see, my brows are pretty grown out, and to be honest, I don't ever get my brows waxed or threaded anymore. I used to, but I haven't done that in years. I typically just do my brows on my own. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in with some tweezers, and these are, I don't know the brand. I think they're Sally Hansen. It's just regular tweezers, but you want some like really good sturdy ones. And I'm just going to pluck my brows. And I'm also going to use a little razor. You can get this from like the beauty supply store for only like $1. They are a little red, obviously, because I just plucked hairs. So it's going to be a little red. Now we can jump into, you know, actually getting into the tutorial. So to start off, I'm going to start by showing you guys what exactly you need. So I'm going to start off with brushes. To do my brows, I use 4 utensils. So the first one is a spoolie, which looks like this. This one is from Morphe. It's the M29 brush. You don't necessarily have to use a spoolie. I know e.l.f. has a spoolie that is only $1. I actually share a video showing you guys affordable brushes. I will leave that video in the description box just so that way you can check it out. And I also go over face brushes and eyeshadow brushes as well, so it'll also be super helpful for other things besides your brows. But yeah, this one is the E29 by Morphe, and this one actually comes with an angle brush on the other side, so you can actually just use this because it comes with both things that you need. I don't prefer this angle brush. If I'm doing my brows thicker, then I would use this one, or I've done someone's makeup with this brush before and it does do the job, but it's not something that I prefer. I actually prefer this brush, and it is the MAC 286 brush. It is a nice super thin angle brush, and I really like it because it's so thin and it really will give you those hair-like strokes. So if you're going for more of a natural brow, this is a really good brow brush for you. If you want to achieve a thicker brow look, I recommend using the other end of the E29 brush, but this one is really helpful because it's basically 2 brushes in one. I just prefer this one, and I've had it for years. I think this was one of the first MAC brushes that I ever actually purchased. Next, you're going to need a concealer brush. I prefer the MAC 212 brush. It's just a regular square flat brush. I've seen people use it for eyeshadow on their lower lash line, but I like using it to clean up my brows. I know Morphe does have a dupe for this brush that's like the exact shape and everything. I actually lost it, or I think I left it over someone's house when I was doing their makeup, so it's gone. There are other concealer brushes you can use too. It doesn't necessarily have to be square shaped. I have this Morphe brush, the M224 brush. It's like a round tip brush. It's an actual like concealer shape, but you can use really any brush as long as it's flat. The key is to having a flat brush to clean up your brows. You don't want to use like a blending brush. I've actually used angle brushes to clean up my brows before because they are flat. Like, it doesn't matter just as long as it's flat. Lastly, you are going to need a blending brush. This is to blend out the concealer. Most of the time when we, you know, clean up our brows with concealer, we're left with a harsh line, so you don't want to have those harsh lines, or what I call a halo brow. I use the Dome Shadow Brush from Real Techniques, which looks like this. I really love this brush for cleaning up the brows. You can use an eyeshadow brush, like any blending brush. I'm telling you guys, I just recommend that it's tapered or that it comes to a nice thin point. You don't want to use something like this brush where it's like really fluffy. This brush can get the job done, but you'll have to be super careful around your brows. So if you're a beginner, I don't recommend using this brush. I wouldn't even use this brush, to be honest. Not saying that I'm a pro or anything, but I wouldn't use it. The only thing about this brush is you can't buy it individually. You do have to buy it in a set. However, I do actually recommend the set. I think it's called the starter kit, if I'm not mistaken. I actually featured this brush in the whole set, I think in my very first YouTube video, so I'll leave that in the description box just in case you guys want to, you know, check it out, see what things I featured, or just want to get a good laugh to see my very first video and like how much weight I've gained in my face. So yeah. So those are basically all the brushes that I recommend. Like I said, you can use these brushes or you can use dupes. Moving on to brow products, these are the things that you're actually going to need to fill in the brows. I'm going to start off with concealer. So the concealer that I've been hooked on is this concealer by Anastasia Beverly Hills. It comes in a little jar and I'm in the shade 5.0. I don't think I've ever used a concealer this creamy before, a pot concealer this creamy. I used to use the NYX HD full coverage concealer that comes in a pot as well. That one gets the job done. I've used it for years. That was the only thing I actually used to clean up my brows before this. I really like that concealer. It's super affordable. The only thing that I must say about it, it's really thick and it can be a little hard to blend out. This one I like kind of got because it was on sale on Sephora's website. I don't know if it's still on sale, but it's originally $20 and it was on sale for 10 bucks. So I was like, let me see what the hype is about. Everyone loves Anastasia Beverly Hills and I love this so far. I feel like you can definitely use this to go under your eye, spot conceal. Like, it's so creamy. Like, I don't know, it's like magic. I just can't explain how good this concealer is. And I feel like pot concealers, they last the longest time. So the next product you're going to need is a pomade. I am using another Anastasia Beverly Hills product. This is her Dipbrow pomade in the shade Ebony. It's just a dark brown, like a charcoal brown. It's like a gel basically. The MAC fluid line I used to use, but mine started getting dried out and it was really old, so I needed to upgrade to something else. So I decided to give this a try. I don't think I got this on sale because the concealer was so good. I was like, let me see if this is good. People say, like, you know, this dries out really fast. It hasn't dried out on me yet, knock on wood. I've just used it and I put the top back on immediately just to prevent that. If you don't want to use the Anastasia one and you want something more affordable, I've heard that Ardell has a pomade that is really good and I see a lot of YouTubers rave about it. Or you can just use like a gel eyeliner from like NYX or ELF. So the last thing you're going to need is a powder, a translucent powder, setting powder, anything that you would like set your face concealer with. So to set my brows, I use the Laura Mercier translucent powder and I don't use this all the time. This is like my everyday powder. So you can use any powder you want. You can use your face powder just as long as it's a powder, because if you have a cream concealer or any, you know, wet product, you want to make sure that you set it so it doesn't crease or move around throughout the day. So now that I feel like I've talked about the products and my brows beforehand, we can finally get into the actual tutorial. I feel like this video is going to be super long, so let's hurry up. So first things first, what I'm going to do is take the spoolie and I'm going to brush my brows. If you have really thick brows, it helps to keep them, put them in the direction that you would like them to go into. So I like to brush my brow hairs upwards. This will give the appearance that your brows are fuller than what they are. So if you have thin brows, this is a great tip. Keep the spoolie nearby because you aren't quite done with it. You will go back to the spoolie later on. So after I've tamed my brows with the spoolie, I like to go in with my flat concealer brush and my concealer. When you conceal your brows first, it gives you a good guide, so that way when you go into filling in your brows, you don't go crazy and don't add too much product. Sometimes when you're filling your brows first, you get a little carried away and you add product that you don't really need. So what I'm going to do is take that concealer and I'm going to get just a tiny bit on the tip of my brush. I barely have any on the tip. You can keep the top nearby and wipe off any excess concealer that you don't need, or you can use the back of your hair, whichever you prefer. So now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to start by cleaning up the bottom of my brow. I'm going to follow my natural brow shape. You can start at the beginning, the end, wherever you want. I just go wherever my hands take me. Feathering the concealer away from my brow as I go. This will help us later when we go to blend out the concealer. It'll be much easier. And as you guys can see, the concealer is just a tad lighter. It's not too light, it's not too dark. It's just slightly lighter than my complexion. You guys can see how creamy this concealer is as I'm applying it. As I get to the tail, I'm basically creating the shape that I want since I don't really have hair. And I'm just blending it down towards my eyelid. And then when I get to the front, I'm just taking whatever is left and just blending it into my skin. Now I'm going to take my blending brush and what I'm going to do is blend out that concealer that we just feathered down. And it may look like it's not really, you know, doing anything since we already feathered it. It's just soaking up the product that doesn't need to be there and blending it as well. The closer I get to my brow, I start to do like tapping motions so I don't interfere with that line. The lighter your concealer is or the thicker it is, the more work you'll have to do as far as blending it. As you guys can see, there's no harsh line from my brow to my lid. It basically just starts to blend into my skin. So now I'm going to take my angle brush. My trick is I like to wet my angle brush first. So I'm going to use some water and just spray, and then I like to take my fingers and basically smooth out the hairs. If you're using a thicker brush, say for instance you were using the other side of the Morphe brush, you can just wet this and make it thinner. But that's my trick, and this also works if you're doing like a wing liner as well. So I'm going to take the Dipbrow pomade and I'm going to get a light amount on my brush. It's barely any on my brush. This stuff is so pigmented too, so you want to be careful. So now I want to take the top of the pomade and I'm going to basically smooth out the brush even more and get rid of any excess product that we don't need. Because my brows are more scarce on the tail end, that's where I like to start off first. And I'm using a really light hand. Now I want to take the very tip of the angle brush and start to flick out that line we just created. And then I'm going to go heavier as we get closer to the center of the brow. And I'm literally using little product, like I barely have any product on my brush. I'm going to take my brush and stand it straight up with the longer part being at the bottom. And just slightly flick up. The thicker you want your brows to be, the more product you have to use. I tend to leave the beginning of my brow very scarce because I want it to look natural. If you do have thin brows, you can just mimic the same thing that I did on the tail throughout the brow. Now I'm going to take my spoolie again. I'm just going to brush through the brows. Mainly the end because that's where we added the product. Just going to help blend out that product so it doesn't look harsh. Now if you do have to use a black pomade, this step is crucial. So this is how both brows look once they're filled in. The final step is setting the brows. So I'm going to take the Laura Mercier setting powder, take a light amount on the same brush that we used to blend out the concealer, tap off the excess. And what I'm going to do is start tapping under my brow where I put that concealer. Tap first, and then I'm going to blend it out. And what you can do is take a little bit more, but really dust it off and just lightly go over your brows. This will lock that gel in place. So this is how the brows look once you are done. Like you guys saw, I don't conceal the top of my brows. I just feel like it's not needed for an everyday look. I do conceal them when I'm going out or if I'm doing like a full face, but most of the time I'm just going to work, so I just do the bottom and call it a day because I ain't got time for that. I'm going to show you guys really quick how I do conceal the top. Not everyone likes a natural look. They want their brows to be super carved out, which is understandable, especially if you have a special occasion or if you're going out or if that's just how you like it. So I'm going to do my foundation and concealer off camera, and then I'm going to come back and conceal the top of my brows for you guys. Okay, so I'm back. To clean up the top of my brows, what I typically do is use whatever face concealer I use. I don't use the Anastasia Beverly Hills concealer for under my eyes. I use whatever face concealer. You can also use your foundation. I feel like using your foundation is the safest way to go. For concealer, I've been using my MAC Pro Longwear concealer in the shade NC45, but you can use any shade that you typically use or any brand that you typically use. I'm going to take a little bit on the back of my hand, like this much. Like that's how small of an amount. And I'm going to take the same flat concealer brush and I'm only going to conceal this top front part, and then I'm going to take whatever's left, and this is what I'm going to use to highlight my forehead. I don't go over this part with my concealer. You can if you like, but this is just how I do it. I'm going to take my beauty sponge and blend it out. It still looks natural, but it's clean at the same time. I'm going to take my setting powder and just set. So that's how I conceal the top of my brows. I'm going to complete my face and show you guys the finished look. So you guys, this is my brows completed. Check it out. I really hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. This video was kind of long. I didn't expect it to be this long, but I really still hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. Please let me know what other videos you guys would like to see and I will create them for you. Subscribe if you aren't. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.